I'm Aryeh Schwartz along with Rachel Galligan, and welcome to the Winsidr Show where it's all about the W. It's Monday, so we gotta recap all the happenings of the past week and weekend. It was an action packed one, so let's dive right into the top topics in the WNBA. If you like our show, please consider joining our Patreon community, patreon.com/winsidr. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can directly show support for the hard work we do covering the W. And don't forget to see our amazing stats-written content over at winsidr.com. That's winsidr.com. If you're looking for a fun new way to enjoy the W, join Winsidr on Playback, our top WNBA watch parties, and use the link playback.tv/winsidr. That's playback.tv/winsidr. Welcome back to the Winsidr Show. It's been a few minutes since our last episode. Sorry we don't have a cool guest this time, but you get me, you get Rachel, and us discussing what's been going on in the W. Rachel, what's going on in your mind? I feel like the Dream are the hot topic team for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to look at Atlanta. I mean, that's a team playing really, really, really well right now. I mean, from top to bottom, I think you've got some key players starting to kind of find their rhythm a little bit. I can't get past the year that Cheyenne Parker's had. I mean, my God, like just putting up career numbers and points. I mean, doing a job on the glass. Honestly, I just don't think it's being talked about enough. The year that she's having so far, averaging just under 16 points a game, 8 rebounds. Just been really impressed with Parker. And been really impressed with Gray, Ryan Howard. I mean, even like AD Durr, Haley Jones has been really, really serviceable, especially when you've got a player like McDonald out. I mean, Haley Jones coming in and putting up great numbers in terms of her ability to create and facilitate, which we all knew she can do. So it's nice to see that come to fruition. And again, just like this team hit some road bumps early on, and now I mean we're obviously still early on, but yeah, I mean they're clicking right now.
It's been really fun to see because I think early on, you know, like you said, road bumps. I would say just didn't have sync. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't a flow to the team. It looked like a bunch of players that hadn't meshed together yet. But we're seeing them truly come together. And it's been a really impressive ride over the past run. You know, beating New York, then beating Connecticut. Obviously, people like to hype up Indiana. Indiana's doing a nice run, definitely making games more fun to watch than we've recently seen and making them competitive. Struggling to close out games, but like that's still a legit victory. Now, granted, they're sitting right at 500, but that's a fun team that like still early in the season, right? That's 1/4 of the season through, and they're sitting at 50-50. So like buy stock in Atlanta Dream. That's just a fun team. Minnesota Lynx. I'm in Minnesota right now, like recording from a hotel conference center that probably doesn't want me using this space right now. So if I get shut down at any point,
We
free
know what.
me. Um, yeah, you know why. But no, basically like Minnesota, look, 3-1 on the now that's kind of inflated because that New York game, which they definitely were, in my opinion, gonna face an L, is pulled because of the weather in New York. So they're sitting at 3-1 going into that Vegas game over the past 4 games, and obviously a great first half. They're down by barely double digits. I mean, for the most part, it was like a 2 possession, 3 possession game at most for the first half, like a very competitive game. Nafis Collier continues to just hit different
For sure.
strides. The second half just got out of hand, got loose, and ends up with another Las Vegas Aces 30-point game. You know, Candace Parker, like a goat who's playing like super late minutes in a blowout game, just like extending them beyond recognition. So yeah, Aces just running crazy, but like at least the Minnesota Lynx we're seeing something. We're seeing some victories. We saw them win back-to-back games against the LA Sparks. How your LA Sparks doing, Rachel?
Well, I mean, real quick, I mean, this is it's like some of these teams, like some of the teams that we know are not at full strength, right? We don't put them at contender. Like I want to get talking to about the Seattle Storm here in a little bit, but Lynx, like okay, turned it on a little bit here. I mean, won 3 of their last 5. to win back-to-back games against LA. And I mean, LA is starting to kind of get healthy. I mean, obviously you're still getting Stevens back into her rhythm and Jasmine Thomas and stuff, but like those are quality wins. I mean, I think, and that shows, this Mystics team is in that category where like they can be disruptive. And you said it yourself. I think Collier is just next level. I mean, really just showing this is her team and her ability to, elevate this team. We've talked about the Lynx at length. Obviously, I don't believe this is their season to be talking about anything major outside of, I mean, I think in some ways, outside of some ways, like you kind of hope they're in the lottery. I mean, if you're a Lynx.
Well, no, you hope they're in the lottery, but also like you need Fee to do what she's done so far this season. Let's be real. When they got her at 6, we saw her immediately start at an all-star level and be, star level caliber. But we haven't seen her take that step to the echelon of like the Candace Parkers, the Maya Moores, like the Brianna Stewarts, the Jonquel Jones, like players who are in MVP discussions yearly. Like,
now one of the top scorers in the league, 20 points a game. I mean, 7 rebounds a game. She's been efficient. I mean, I think that this is that year for that. And for Minnesota, I mean, this is going to be such a big offseason for them because they're going to have so much flexibility finally with their cap situation. But it is kind of cool to see this team come together. I keep saying I love the addition of Tiffany Mitchell on this team. I think your favorite Milic has stepped up good in some moments, and I'm always encouraged, when she gets extended minutes. But who was the other team you asked me about before I went on my Lynx rampage?
Well, the Lynx won back-to-back games against LA, a team that I think like we've seen in LA and Chicago, they've kind of plateaued. Now LA, I think the difference is early on in the season, we didn't necessarily see the victories, right? We saw them compete against top teams in the league and play really well, and we were all like, oh damn, Kurt Miller's kind of pulled this around. And now that they're healthy and they're kind of plateauing and growing from that point.
Yeah.
Whereas Chicago is kind of falling.
I think that you've got LA, you've got some players back who were not in the mix early on, and that in itself, like rocks the boat because you're still gelling. You're still trying to find those rotations. You're still trying to get everybody comfortable on the floor. I think LA at times they go through spurts where they just have like massive turnover numbers in like bunches. And I think that we saw that over the weekend a little bit. But, I mean, I'm not concerned with LA. I think that that's a good team just in terms of stability, right? This is not a year we're talking about contention. We're just looking to stabilize the organization, get some consistency, get your system implemented, and be competitive. And I think that as we see the course of this season go on, we're going to see this team settle in a little bit more. Been really impressed with Jordan Canada. I mean, like, the energy she's bringing to the court for LA. I mean, like to me, she's proven her spot in the league with just her play the last couple of weeks. I think has been really promising. But
dude, she was hitting open 3 looks. She's getting like,
and teams are demanding her to shoot it, But that's what she's got to be able to do. She's got to be able to knock down 1 to 2 threes a game and just be respected out there. And I think, I mean, just I've been impressed with Canada overall. I'm just waiting for LA to kind of hit their stride. And this could be a team that I wouldn't be surprised if like a month from now, they're on like a 5-game winning streak, 4 or 5-game winning streak. Like they're going to have peaks and valleys throughout the course of the season, but I do think we'll see them level out a little bit more, and be in that middle to lower echelon when it's all said and done.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Aryeh Stevens was not like, she was hyped up appropriately as an offseason addition to that team, because when you pair her with NECA and she's healthy and she's back in her rhythm, and they have time to gel together. So those are a few things. It's going to take some games to happen, but I have a lot of faith in that pairing being a successful and dynamic pairing in this league. What about Chicago? Kind of similar boat. Started off hot. I mean, I feel like Chicago's kind of plateaued into like what we expected, and like they won early games, and what we expected was that they have these crazy shooters on this team, right? Like Marina can just pop off one game for 30, 40 points or like 25 points average, right? And then Kaz like guaranteed 20 plus for the most time and could pop off for close to 30 on a game. And then Alana Smith is showing she's going to put up double digits a game. And then you throw in a few other people, you sprinkle them in, and like this is a fun team with Dana Evans too. This is a fun team. Like that can score a lot of points in bulk in individual play. What are you thinking about Chicago, even though they've kind of piled up on like a 4-game losing streak?
I mean, I think, was it a few shows ago? Everybody was like ranting and raving. We were going nuts about Chicago, and they had won. They'd been competitive. Well, they hadn't played much of anybody, to be completely honest with you. It's fine.
Right,
I'm not
right.
trying to take any wins away from anybody in this league or discredit them or downplay it. But I'm pretty sure if we went back into that podcast, I made a comment that was like, listen, we're very easily going to be talking about this team, Chicago, and they're going to hit some major valleys in terms of,
Mm-hmm.
just down periods. Just the way this roster is structured, they don't have, like, they don't have the consistency across the board in terms of like veteran play, superstardom, that type of stuff. No matter which way you spin it, I love Marina Mabry. I love that Dana Evans is, stepping up. I think Alana Smith has been really, really good. Ka obviously has a lot on her shoulders, but this team is going to be exactly what they're showing us. They're going to have really good
I
moments, and then they're going to have moments where it's like, oh man, they're not very good.
I agree with all of that. I will say I don't think there's enough discussion about the fact that Elizabeth Williams is their starting center and is not Izzy Harrison, who I feel like you start Izzy, and that like even just that addition of depth in the
Sure.
paint would be a huge addition to this team. Not saying that's going to change them, from a 5-7 team on a 4-game losing streak to a 30-1 team.
Yeah.
But I do think that like everyone's kind of ignoring that, right? Because they were on this kick where we've seen such explosion from the said superstars of this team. We've kind of ignored that. Yes, they've had injuries too. I mean, they bring in Sika Kone I feel like yesterday, right? And like they're actually giving her minutes, giving her play. Really exciting to see that. But like that's not Izzy Harris. Like that's not a player who's been a vet in this league, who's shown out in AU, who has been around the block for a while and understands a
Yeah,
lot more.
and you
That's
could look at that in one of two ways. I mean, on one hand, for rookies and for younger players in the league, like I kind of love it and appreciate it because you're starting to get. I mean, for me, I'm watching some of these teams play who maybe do have injuries or hardship situations, and so you do have younger rookies playing a lot of minutes early and often, and you're thrown into the fire. Like it's no longer just the Fever who have to play rookies. We have a lot of teams, and it is nice. On one hand, like with that comes a lot of learning experiences, a lot of peaks and valleys, but also like we're seeing the future of the league. We're seeing players get an opportunity right off the bat. Kone, perfect example. I mean, love that fit. Think she's been able to come in and contribute to Chicago. Those are things that through the course of the year, James Wade's got to be, taking note of like, okay, as I continue to restructure this roster and put these pieces together, like it shows promise for the future. So I do think, and that's a good point. I've seen this year, the play of rookies, and when I say rookies, I mean like 2 to 3 year rookies, right? Like rookie scale level players who we're getting to see a lot of minutes from. And that is one point that I think is really encouraging.
Well, I was even like, honestly, I think the theme of this league this season, in my opinion at least, and I've been kind of preaching this, is exactly that. There's so many players we often talk about the negative aspect of the small league and blah, blah, blah. But like with the current wave and the structure of this league, there's multiple teams who are in a transitional period and know they're not winning a championship this year. That means there are multiple roster spots on each of those teams that are being filled by players that maybe wouldn't have an opportunity to be in this league otherwise. And they now have an opportunity. I'm thinking of like multiple players, Alicia Clark, Benijah Laney. Like there's been so many players who just needed some time to figure out how to solidify a spot in this league. And this is like, in my opinion, 5 years from now, or hopefully even less, we're going to be having a discussion about this season and how certain players were able to finally get enough play so teams had film on them and understood who they were and decided to bring them back for a chance next year or the year after that or something like that. And then they finally get a foothold in this league.
And a perfect example too. I mean, the Seattle Storm. I've been really in the last 13 days. This team has won 3 games. I mean, to be honest, that's more than I expected at this point. June 19th, headed into this week. It's way more than I expected. I thought that the comeback win over LA was incredible. I think okay, you look at Phoenix, and like that's a whole other conversation right now. They're dealing with a lot. We know that you're trying to win games without your two franchise players, so I mean that's just tough. But the win against the Dallas Wings on Saturday, first and foremost, can we talk about the offensive onslaught of that game? 109 to 103. Jewel Lloyd and Aryeh end up combining for 80 points apiece. I mean, like, part of me was like, I need to go back and watch this game because very little defense was being played. But at the same time, like, just an absolute. I mean, you had Natasha Howard, who has really stepped. Honestly, Natasha Howard's having a really solid season for Dallas. Satu,
People ain't talking about it enough.
I agree. And Satu, we've talked about a lot. I think has been really steady, really consistent. Goes off for 25. I mean, that's incredible. Those are unbelievable numbers. You're looking at 41, 25, 20. Crystal Dangerfield chipped in 15. I'm pretty sure that was her first game back. Correct me if I'm wrong with Odyssey.
I think so.
And then on the other side of it, I mean, that was by far the most complete offensive balanced performance from Seattle. I didn't even know they were capable of it. I mean, Jewel Lloyd has 39. Okay.
Dude, 39.
41 and 39 between those players alone is unbelievable. But then you have Kia Nurse, 11, Ezzy, 15, Mercedes Russell, 12. That's huge. If you've got Mercedes Russell stepping in and contributing with double-doubles consistently like that, that shows a lot of promise. So, I mean, that was a really impressive win. Again, I would love to, it was just so fun to watch. Like just pure offense the whole time. But again,
I had money on the game. I didn't have money on the game. I was advising people who love sports betting. They were like, "Aryeh, we're trying to put money down, and we've been losing all weekend. Give us some information." I was like, "Well, I'm looking at this Seattle Dallas game, and I'm feeling pretty good that Seattle doesn't lose by 8. They either win or they lose by less than 8."
The fact that Seattle broke,
and they're like,
unbelievable.
Okay. Ridiculous. I just felt that Jewel was going to go off, and she delivered. It was super exciting. I mean, Vegas, we've already talked about Vegas, right? Like, just finding a stride. It's going to be, for me, Vegas, it's about health and playoffs. Yeah. What are we going to see? Because the playoffs, the game's going to slow down a little bit. I know that was the talk last year also. Look, Vegas is at a different level. It's less fun to talk about them. Let's be real. Like, they're just plowing through teams, dropped another 30-stack win over Minnesota. Mystics win a few games, not convinced. I don't know. I feel like that was the theme of the weekend for me. Shout out to Aaliyah frickin' Boston.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, just so good. I knew her game would translate. But like the way she's been utilized with sides and her teammates, I mean, I knew her game would translate, but I didn't realize it would be so seamless. So fun to watch Boston play. And you know what? Yeah, the numbers, the rebounds, it's the composure and the way she carries herself that I'm most impressed with. Like, literally has not skipped a beat. Like, looks like she's been in the league for 10 years, you know, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah. For me, it's like the body language on the sideline, or like when the game's not going on, like how comfortable she looks in those moments. She's been ready for it. Okay, this is my favorite part, mostly because I'm winning right now. Aryeh Schwartz's record, 12-9 in Pick'em. Rachel is 10-11.
Man, I'm really not doing great.
So what we're gonna do is tomorrow, Wednesday, and just to give you a chance, we'll do Thursday. So we're gonna do a slate of 7 games.
All right.
Okay. By the way, I'll be at the Minnesota Lynx Connecticut Sun game. I'm bringing Gus for his first WNBA game. Very, very excited. I'll be the guy crying in the corner.
Pictures that didn't happen.
Yeah. If you see me, come say hi. Be there with the fam. Very excited to bring him to his first game. And the mecca of women's basketball, Target Center. All right, Rachel, you ready? Oh wait, you go. All right, whatever. Dream at Wings.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna say the Wings.
Interesting. I'm going Dream.
Okay.
I'm riding the wave. All right, next game, Sun at Storm.
Yeah, Connecticut.
Yeah.
I mean,
let's see. Lynx at Sparks.
That's a gimme. I don't think that's a gimme at all.
I don't think it's a gimme either. I just don't think the Storm have it.
Minnesota and LA, man. You know, I feel like these teams have played 15 times already. They're seriously playing again.
Third time's the charm.
I think LA will get it together. They're not going to be swept by them this early on.
I'll just have to go on Minnesota because I want to disagree
Okay.
with you. I do agree that I don't think they get swept, but yeah. Aces at Mercury. We're going Aces. I mean, like, do we need to talk about it? Sun versus Storm. I think Gus's cheering is going to bring the Lynx the victory. So, I mean, Sun
I was
versus
like, wait,
Sun. That
what?
Sun versus Lynx.
Lynx. Ooh, you're going to be there? I don't know. I'm going to go Connecticut.
Yeah, they're probably going to win. Let's be real. Mystics versus Sky.
I mean, it's like this is why I'm not doing great on Pick'em so far because I can't figure these teams out to save my life. Like which Washington Mystics team is going to show up? Which Chicago team is going to show up? You just like it's a complete coin flip in my opinion. I I feel like Chicago is going to come up with some solid wins this week. I'm going Sky.
Yeah, I was going Sky also. Sorry,
Damn.
can't get anything on that one. Fever versus Storm.
Ooh, that's a battle right there. It's at Seattle. I think Seattle might sneak out a win. They're going to get their fourth.
All right, I'm going
All right.
Fever. All right, that's it. Rachel, who's your goat?
Gus.